Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you tonight? See, we've got a hopping room already. Got 12 comments already in the chat room. God, I love you guys. How's everybody doing?
They're just a talking away.
Just a chit chatting away. Man, we got some good people in tonight. I'm sure that we're going to have some more jump in here. So real quick, everybody, we had a brand new intro there. Do me a favor, let me know in the comments if you liked it, if you thought it was fitting, if and did you and also did you notice that we purposely put a tribute in there to our Talking Dead room, and that everybody is in here. So I wanted to be sure to let you know that we did that purposely by finding the zombies on the cell phones and adding that as part of our intro because we love you guys and we appreciate everything you do. Mr. Chris, how is your week thus far, sir?
So far, yeah, there is a little echo. So far, pretty good. Um, I'm going into my stretch. There is a little break. We get Sunday, Easter Sunday off, so there is a
Yay.
day in between my 2 week run. So
Nice.
yeah, work. They don't call it happy fun time.
No, they don't. They don't.
So I have to watch horror movies and shoot people in video games, and it all evils out.
Well, they don't call it happy fun time, but if not for the work, then the happy fun time's harder to do. So
This is true.
at least there's that portion of it.
If they didn't pay me, I wouldn't go.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You know, I DB says your volume's a little low. Don't you working on your side? I'm gonna working on mine and see if I can help you out here. Let's get a little test on that. How's that going?
How do I sound now out there in the Talking Dead land?
Yes, let us know if we're fairly even now and everything should be pretty good at this point. Sounds good on my
Sounds pretty
side.
good.
Yep.
I think we're even.
So, all right, an American Werewolf in London. Um, wow. LG says perfect. Thank you. Yes,
Sweet.
he is. He is most of the time. He is.
I
Anyway,
try.
American Werewolf in London. This is this movie is one of those that people hold in extremely high regard. If for many good reasons, and if you ask me, for some not so good reasons. Um, but at the time that this came out, were you lucky enough to be able to see this in theater, or did you see this
I
in
saw this later
VHS?
on when it came to American television, where they changed a couple lines, but my dad, we had TVs, so my dad splitting cable across the house and stuff. But being on way too late, this coming on and going,
What?
oh.
What?
Again, product of living in the 80s. You got to watch some movies way too young, but you develop an affinity for them. And, this is definitely one of the ones that grabbed me in the horror genre. Like, I credit this film to that. Um, the, the work by Rick Baker in here, the practical special effects,
Oh yeah.
I, nothing holds a candle to it. And we're talking 40 plus years later. There's not, I would be I would love to see a werewolf transformation
Yes.
with what we have now rival it.
No.
Um,
And it's funny. Del Toro had the werewolf movie that he did, which was back mid 2000s.
yeah,
And they elected to do CGI transformation, and I'm sure at the time it was fantastic.
right.
But when you watch it now, it's like, man, if you guys would have went with practical,
Yeah,
it would because that movie as a whole is fantastic.
very good.
But the transformations make you just sit back and go,
Mm.
oh, please.
It's the downfall to the sequel to this one, American Werewolf in Paris. It came out in '97. It was like, wow, you had like every hair on the werewolf was shaking with water. And I went back and watched it now. I'm like, this sucks.
Uh-huh.
Like, this is terrible. They don't look the way they should look.
Which is funny because when I went to see that, and at the time everyone was like, "Oh my god, this movie's horrible. It's
Yep,
the worst thing ever." And I was thinking, "It's not that bad." And
it's not that bad.
then I tried to watch it again. And I was like, "Oh, now I get it."
Yeah, it's a bunch of bear cubs fighting with each other and bad CGI.
Hold
The
on, hold
movie is good. The movie itself is
on.
funny,
Did you just
goofy.
say bear cubs fighting with
Yeah, exactly. When they're battling it out and you get that overview and they're swatting
uh
at each other, you're like, what the?
Well, no, the reason I laugh so hard is because, okay, as people in the in our chat room probably know by now, I love werewolf movies. I've always loved the lycanthrope um, storylines. I like the fables. I like the history. It's just the skinwalkers. I love it. I love it. And Silver Bullet is one of my favorite Gary Busey movies of all
But,
times, right? I
but
love
the werewolf,
the werewolf looks more like a werebear.
yeah, he's a werebear. I love the movie. It's
I do
one of
too.
my favorite movies. Such a well done Stephen King movie. But
Yep,
seriously,
yep,
werewolf is a bear.
yeah, the werebear,
He's a
um,
werebear.
which is okay, whatever.
Yeah, I mean
Yep,
everybody, you all got their own, and this one is no stranger. It has its own type
yep.
of four-legged walking werewolf.
Yep, yep, yep. And that's another thing I love about the werewolf genre is you have several different types of werewolves. You have, in American Werewolf in London, you have it's basically a big wolf.
Hmm.
You have the bipedal, which is the more man wolf, and then you have some which is mostly just like I call it a hybrid, where it's like you'll see a man's form with the wolf head and
Right.
claws.
Y-
Um,
Very, you could see it would be able to drop down on all fours and take off running, but
yeah.
could walk at you as well.
Yes, yes. So you had it's a really fun aspect of that. The transformation scene. Yes, American Werewolf in London has the best transformation scene, followed up very closely for completely different reasons for Trick or Treat.
Mm, it's true.
Yeah, but for completely different reasons.
Completely different reasons. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, come on. And
Yeah.
back when, come on. Yeah,
So, anywho, so your overall, well, let's dive into it. Let's jump in.
sure.
I know Scott's here tonight. Scott, let's do this first. Let's talk about who all happened to show their face into our lovely room here at first, and let's see where we're at.
Yeah. Scott was in here first. Warning everyone in the chat here, are Talking Dead to stick to the road, beware the Moors, and us damn Americans never listen to sound advice.
No, especially not when we're overseas.
No, of course not. And then we've got, of course, LG, um, minding the wrench. Got the lovely Moor over there. Don't She
Yes.
might not have a wrench next to her name, but she'll still get you.
Oh boy, you have no clue.
Yep,
Oh
and Scott saying that it was the first ever horror flick he saw,
yeah.
and caught it off. That's where I got it from. Was HBO. We had HBO in our house. We had the black box. The one that you had HBO. Did you
Yeah.
pay for it? Well, I haven't.
Mhm. Did do you remember On TV? Did you guys have that where you're at?
No,
Okay,
no.
so locally, we had before we had cable service, we had a local station called On TV, and
Okay,
what it was is during the day, it was like, okay, you had channel, um 9, 12, 5, like everybody else, right? 12, 9, 5. You had channel 19, which was, more of when the president was on, you could watch something on channel 19, right?
right.
Well, channel 64 then came out, and it was kind of like that, the same type of programming as channel 19, only that's where you would find like reruns of Heart to Heart and that kind of thing,
Okay.
right? Well, but after 9, I think it was either 9 or 10 o'clock, they scrambled um their broadcast, and you could pay to get a descrambler to hook up to your TV,
All right.
and they would show that's where I saw Dead and Buried for the
Oh,
first
okay.
time and things like that, right?
Right.
So it was old. My sister had it and was and I would always beg my parents, the Halloween weekend, either the weekend before or the weekend after, to please let me go spend the night because I would
Right.
go veg on horror movies all night.
Right.
And the thing with on TV is what a lot of people didn't know, especially my parents at the time, is once you got past the 2 or 3 horror movies, the movie that showed after that was
There's
like Playboy Channel
there's some
movie.
boobies.
Yeah. And
Got
I'm
some
going
horror and then some boobies.
yeah. I saw, um, George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, on there. Like I said, I saw Dead and Buried.
Nice. Nice.
I saw Scanners for the
Oh
first time
yeah.
oh, what a great movie. Um,
Good one.
another movie that has one scene that made it famous, you know? So,
True.
um, Lunar Girls, I love it. My wife
Yep.
and I joke about this all the
Oh
time.
yeah.
Um,
That's we had that. We grew up with HBO and Cinemax, but like parents, I don't think really knew that once After Dark hit, you got Cinemax After Dark, and that was the
uh-huh.
Skinemax. That was
So
if
so I'm gonna tell a fun story again on on my mom. I grew up in a very religious household, and church 2 to 3 times a week. My parents were very involved. Um, and my mom watched in the same month time frame. She watched Porky's and Best Little Whorehouse in Texas on
oh,
HBO. Right?
right. Yeah,
Both are very funny movies for their time. Matter of fact,
definitely.
Porky's is one of the funniest movies
Oh,
ever,
yeah. Lassie, come
ever.
home.
Lassie, oh my god, I got a story about that too, but
Okay.
anyway, so she then goes on this tirade, "I'm getting rid of cable, I'm getting rid of HBO, I can't believe they show this smut, blah, 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 blah," and my brother, God bless him, he looked at her and went, "Really, mom?" She said, "Yeah." He goes, "You watched every second of both of those movies from beginning to end because I sat there and watched them with you and laughed yourself silly, and then now you're gonna say you're gonna get
Right.
rid of it? When the only person in this house that you're worried about watching it is Alan, and he's so young that he's gonna be in bed before any of this happens?"
Right.
So they thought.
Right.
Right? And so it was just so he talked her into keeping the HBO, and thank
Oh,
God
that's
for that
great.
because I had some shows that came on there that I absolutely
Yeah.
loved.
Oh,
Anyway.
the HBO feature presentation, like people don't get that now. That
Mm-mm.
if you had that HBO, the purple signage and the HBO feature presentation, you get the white noise, and you were just like,
When they did the thing where they built the camera on, in the big city where it went shoo, it went down
yeah,
through the
down
streets and all
through.
that stuff, and it came
Oh,
up onto the oh my god, that was I mean, for as a kid, that was gorgeous
that
stuff.
meant you were getting a top notch movie coming. Like
Yes.
this was in the movie theaters, and now we get the chance
Now
to see
we
it.
get to see it.
I was like,
Exactly. Exactly. Scott, you called it right on, the model of the city. And it was that was a big deal because before that, I mean, you know, it was, lucky to go to a rental store kind of thing. But
yeah,
God, man, I miss the nostalgia of being able to walk to a Blockbuster or
just to wander the aisles in horror, looking at the covers, knowing like, ooh, that one looks wild. I'm gonna
yeah,
what's the back of this? I'm gonna read the synopsis on the back. You got to you were there holding it in your hand. You made this
that
choice with
physical.
the picture and
Mhm.
the synopsis and the actors and the runtime and okay, I can only grab X amount of them. Which one's gonna win this battle?
Yeah, yeah, and you would literally make mental note and go, "Man, next time I come, I'm gonna look for this one because this looks g
Yep.
I wanna watch American Werewolf in London this week, but man, this
Hmm.
Howling movie looks really good. I'm gonna pick it
Yeah, I'm
up
gonna
next
check
time I'm
this
here."
out. Yep,
Right? I mean, that's the way I mean,
absolutely.
if you've ever watched the actual little video that I put at the beginning of this to introduce you to our channel, that's what I talk about. I'm like, "Hey, if you're one of those people that used to walk the aisle of Blockbuster or Suncoast Videos or whoever it is, your home
Yep,
store, and choose a horror movie based on that cover, you're in the right place."
absolutely, absolutely.
You're in the right place. Anyway, so let's we're now 15 minutes in and we haven't even talked about this movie more
Yep,
than just the high value. So
yep.
let's talk about American Werewolf in London. Stars. uh,
David Naughton,
Naughton, Jennifer, is it Augter? That's what I was trying to figure out.
Agutter,
Agutt, Augter.
Agutter,
Yep,
Agutter.
and then Griffin Dunne.
Right.
Those are our three main characters. Um, and we start out on the countryside in I did like I love the way this one started.
Yeah.
The truck running through the countryside.
Yep. Full of
Um,
sheep
Full of sheep,
and
and,
two
our
Americans.
Americans are riding in the back, and they're having a good time, and not so much or so much, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But they really throw us into the scenery and the fact that we're in an area of the world that we're not used to pretty quickly.
Yep.
Um so, Trina from Real Horror has stopped in. Trina, welcome to the show. She says this is her favorite all-time werewolf movie. I love to hear
Absolutely.
that.
Good stuff.
Trina, just because you stopped in tonight, you are now a member of our Talking Dead. Welcome to the family. Thank you
Welcome.
very much. Gabba Gabba, we accept you. One of us.
The
All
nighttime means the nighttime.
right. Yes, it is. All righty.
But yeah,
So,
we've got two friends that are, doing the backpacking thing, and it was a big thing in the 80s and 90s that you want to do a backpack tour through Europe. And these guys are starting it out in the UK, and they're in the countryside. You see that truck flap down, two Americans hanging out with the sheep. I go this way, you go that way, and we get the warnings right off the bat, like
yes.
stick to the road, stay off the moors, beware the
Beware
moon.
the men. Exactly, beware the men.
That's the going thing here, and yeah, we've got so they continue their walk down, and it gets dark, and it's raining, and they see a tavern,
Yeah.
to where they're going to stop. Now, this is the part that's it's pretty strange because they walk into this tavern, everybody's doing their own thing until they open the door, and immediately
Yes.
it's who are you? You know,
Yeah,
you don't
and
belong here.
and I think, um, would it not be if I if okay, so you and I live in this little, small English town, what is the old saying, the two-horse town, and we saw 2 complete strangers walk in the middle of the night out of a rainstorm, I think we might have the same type of reaction.
Could be. That let's just agree that that entire tavern were a bunch of dicks.
Oh god, yeah.
They
Oh,
were the
yeah.
biggest assholes in the whole movie.
Yes, they were, yes.
Because they were just like, oh, we want something to eat, no food. You know,
Yeah,
oh, some coffee, no coffee. I
yeah.
can make if you want something warm, with tea. Oh, do you have tea? No,
No, but I
but
can
I
make
can make it for you.
yeah. W
Okay.
would you?
Um.
Begrudgingly, yes.
Yep. Right. And then we get our jokester that decides to tell a joke at the expense of the Americans, the plain joke. Funny joke I've heard in so many different ways.
Yes.
Remember the Alamo.
Remember
Um,
the Alamo.
so and they use this time where this is bouncing around with the joke to, they're talking amongst themselves like, what the hell is this? Like weird people.
Right. They
There's
so
a
the
star on the
pentagram on the
wall. Yeah,
wall,
they got
right?
they got it on the wall. You got candles around it. They're fighting back and forth. Who's gonna say what? Say something. Say something. So the joke ends, and they're like, "Ha ha, that is great. What's with the star on the wall?" And immediately it's get out,
Yeah.
get out. You
Now
don't belong here. Go.
and the funny part about that is, had they answered it the way they answered the doctor later in the movie and just said, "Oh, you know what? It's been here since we opened the place. I didn't have the heart to cover it. It's kind of the part of the aesthetic. We just left it there."
Yeah.
Everyone would have went, "Oh, okay,"
Okay.
and drank their drink and said, "Hey, where's a place for us to have a good night's rest?" And they would have just left, and there would have been nothing about it. But
Right.
instead, they boot them out in the rain
Yep.
during a full moon.
But stick to the road. Don't
Stay
go
out
on the
of
moors.
sports.
Beware the moon, boys. But get the fuck out.
Yeah. And I love the fact that this is when, once they're gone and you start hearing the wolf howling, that the barmaid is like, "Oh God, we need to go get them."
And the rest of them are like,
I know.
if we don't, it's murder. Well, then it's murder.
Yeah, because I ain't going out there, right?
Not happening.
And I think it's more of a I'm too afraid to go out than it is, um, if you die, you die,
Right.
kind of thing. It's more like, well, if you die, you die. But the only reason that is because I'm not going out there to fix.
Right, because I'm going to let you die.
Exactly.
And this is kind of this pertains into my issue with the movie, rewatching it years and years later.
Yes.
Still my favorite werewolf movie,
Okay.
for many reasons, but we never get this story resolved. Like, what is this little tiny two horse town hiding? You
Yeah.
know, they know something.
Oh,
And
absolutely. That's
there
something.
are opportunity upon opportunity through this movie to where they could be like, okay, shit's crazy here, guys. I'm glad all of you showed up to ask these questions, and you need to
Right.
get the word out because there's some big ass hairy shit going on out there eating people.
And there's one of the guys who is, but as soon as one of the other people find out about it, they're like, "You said
You
enough."
said enough. It's over.
And it's funny is because I'm sitting there going, okay, you got an old guy here that's going, you've said enough, and you've got two other guys talking, and he should have went, yeah, me and him are talking. See your way out of this,
Right.
because if you don't, we're going to gang up on you. Well, what are you
Right.
going to do, right?
Yeah.
But who knows?
No.
Anyway,
Yep. They continue on. They get kicked out. Maybe there's something an in down the road. We'll figure it out. So they're bebopping down the road, and I love the point where they're like, you know, where are we going? And they look down. It's like, oh well, stay on the road.
oh, we're
Oops.
off the road. Too
Oops.
late.
We're in the moors, off the road, and oh, the moon's out.
Yeah,
And they find out real quick. We go through some great views. I think cinematically here, where we're not getting their views. We're getting this shot of their fear looking around them,
right.
and possibly this creature that's making this crazy noise, circling them.
Yes.
I love the way they do this through the movie. We first got that, what do they call it? The steady cam was starting to really take off, to where
Yeah.
they could do the shots through the woods and
Yeah. So
and
they're
whatnot.
really relying on the POV,
Right.
like the
Um,
werewolf's POV.
yes. And yeah, it's great where they're like, we got to go back, and then they start running, and we're like, we don't know which way we're going,
Hmm.
and they turn into this run to where it slips. And this movie has this knack for some little comedy thrown in there.
Absolutely, absolutely, which I
It's
think is what made it work,
a
actually.
lot of it is that dryish humor, you
Mhm,
get from it, which I adore. So
mhm.
you get where Dave's down and he's like, "Help me up," and we get our first shot of the monster, the werewolf, takes Jack down and shreds him.
Yeah, the big puppet, I'm only gonna show from the shoulder up from the side, flashing back and forth real quick. Uh,
First shot apparently done destroyed it because he was
yes,
like, "Be careful," and he ripped the foam portion off of it. And so what they did was take the backup head and beat Dunn with it.
yeah,
That's a little bit of trivia to it. So yeah, it shreds him, and you know David takes off. He's
yeah,
gone,
which
and
I
I
don't
think.
blame him at this point.
Yeah, but I think it also sets up where we go with the rest of the movie, where he realizes his friend is getting torn apart. I got to go back.
Yeah,
He goes back, sees his friend dead. Monster attacks him as he's on the ground about to be dinner or dessert, depending on how hungry this werewolf was.
yes.
He's blown apart by the tavern dwellers that finally come from the slaughtered lamb. Apparently, they decided to help.
Yeah, I will say that I am glad that they didn't rely on, like, the silver allergy thing. I'm glad that they just said, "Hey, you can shoot this thing and kill it." Um
Here's where we kind of don't make sense for a
Hi,
movie,
Scott.
um, where these are the keepers of the lore, um, and they shoot the werewolf.
Yeah,
Jack is dead. They
yep,
see the other American torn apart,
yep,
so they dress his wounds and send him off to the city.
right.
Now that I'm looking back through the nostalgia part, it's that it doesn't make sense that
No,
this
they
happened.
if these people were really trying to cover up the fact that they had a werewolf, problem,
Sending one to
um,
London's not a good idea.
yeah, and the fact that they killed the werewolf, killed the werewolf, I think that they would have probably, again, and this was an issue that I had with the movie. Um, it should have all taken place in that small town,
Yeah,
and they could have done pretty much everything they did in that small town. Because once he was healed, he could have then went to London,
right.
right?
They might have thought that, the curse passed over him, whatever. So it's one of those things looking back that while Landis did a great job of getting us some humor, some very dark humor, because this
Yes.
movie is bleak as hell.
Oh, it is. It
It
is.
only gets, and at this point, we've seen death and whatnot. It doesn't get any better from here. This is the point where we're going to watch David through the rest of the movie suffer from survivor's guilt,
Yep.
in many ways, including having his dead friend show back up.
So here's where I get to start my interjections.
There you go.
Okay. First of all, I love you, audience, or chat room. You know, the Talking Dead. I love you. Don't be mad at me
No
'cause
offense, but
I'm getting ready to say something. Yeah, yeah. It was, oh my god, it's funny you said that. My wife and I were talking the other night, and I said, "Isn't it funny how when someone says to you, um, you know, hey, listen, no offense, but," and they're like, "Well, you can't get mad. You're not supposed to be offended, right? Because I
I
told you up
said
front."
no offense.
Um, when I was young and I saw this movie for the first time, I thought this was a masterpiece. I thought this was like uh, transcending the genre. It
Same.
did something that no one else could do, all that stuff, right? As a 55-year-old going back to watch this movie again, now I've seen it a couple times between then and now, but watching it for the purpose of the show, I always try to look at it through fresh eyes, right? And I try to set my nostalgia aside, even though I can't. Um, but that being said, from the beginning of this movie up until the time that they put that David winds up in the hospital, right? So from the beginning of the movie to then
Mhm.
from then until the transformation scene. 99% of the movie is nothing but filler to fill time to get you to the transformation scene. This movie is not as good as people want to remember it. They just want to remember that transformation scene on how great it was, and it was. Oh
Well,
my god, it
and it
was.
does take place an hour into the movie.
Uh-huh. It takes you a long time to get there, and the payoff is not that great because what you've gotten before it doesn't make you really care because you already know it's coming. I knew it was coming the first time I saw it, right?
Right.
So, to me, personally, while I agree there are moments of this movie that are absolutely the greatest thing that ever happened, including the transformation scene, the scenes on how Jack is slowly disintegrating, right, and
Yeah.
decaying. I love all of that. Love all of that. But it is so slow in the middle
Yeah, I think
that
the way it's written that way is what kind
Mhm.
of kills it.
Yeah. That for those of you who are in the chat room who say this is your favorite movie, werewolf movie of all time, great. I love it. I appreciate the fact. I really do, and I understand why. I really do.
Hey, listen,
But
I
but
am one of those
apples
people, and I love my brother Alan. I'm going to let him trash it a little bit.
but apples to apples, The Howling is 10 times better than this because it does
Story
everything.
wise, I'll give that story
It
wise.
does everything that this one does, except it builds a mood that scares the living hell out of you. This one
Right.
does not. It just gores you with the transformation.
I think what,
That's where my issue is. Again, I'm not saying I don't love the movie. I do. I
yeah,
love it.
right.
Love it. But
But the
but if
story's
you
strange because I think if you were to try to make this movie today, you
Yep.
wouldn't be able to. The themes that it carries through this, I mean, this is a dark movie. We see, so, oh no, no, don't see. I agree with you, Trina.
Trina, don't do that to me, honey. Don't, please, okay? I get a little passionate. I can't
Right.
help it. I just do.
Hey, and you know what? He's not wrong when it comes to Like, honestly, when we get to the hospital, we have a nurse that really just has the hots for American guy.
Yeah.
And uh finds a way to kind of like, I'm gonna take him home and make some whoopee.
Yep.
And that's kind of where we're at. And this girl ignores blatant red flags, whether they be signs of schizophrenia or um some survivor's guilt or whatever you want to say. This guy is not right.
I sat there through this whole thing going, okay, she's a trained nurse. And and her whole life is now about, "I'm gonna fix this man. I wanna
Right.
fix him." And I didn't buy it. I was just like,
I think I like it for the
"Mm."
fact of how bleak this movie is. I mean, you've got, so now this starts where she's going to start doing, she's going to try to make some moves.
Mhm.
You have David, who's now has his buddy Jack, which the first time we see Jack, I wanted to do makeup. I wanted to I wanted
Well,
to I
I agree
wanted to
with
be
you.
able to create something like that. And later on for Halloweens and stuff, I would do latex, spend hours building latex so I could
Yep.
tear my face apart because of that movie. That gore.
Yep.
And now that they've 4K up the movie, you see exactly how gory this thing
I
is.
love this.
Yes.
I love even the
There's
first
little
time I saw it,
twitching.
that little flap of skin that would flap while he was
You
talking,
see
I
the
was like,
toast fall out of his throat when
"Oh
he's
my."
eating.
Yeah.
Like, so
So, like I said, Trina, I'm not hating on the movie. I'm really not. There are parts of it that are phenomenal. Give me more of the relationship between David and Jack. Give me more of that, right?
yeah,
Um, give me less of the nurse that's like, wanting to carry him
I
home.
think they were trying to build that love story up, and this is where we build towards um, kill yourself. I mean, this
Right.
moment here when we start, where Jack's like, "Listen, we got attacked by a werewolf. You're now a werewolf. I
Mhm.
walk in limbo for the rest of the earth, talking to boring ass corpses
Yep.
until the bloodline is severed, which happens to be you. You need to kill yourself."
Right. Which
That
which
premise right there, I
which
think,
to me is new, right? That's a fairly new premise to the werewolf,
absolutely.
That
And
was something that was done in vampire films, but not
right,
so I thought
not
that was
not the
really cool.
werewolf thing, and not really until you got that whole, the really into underworld and newer werewolf movies that we really
Uh,
lean hard into bloodlines and
okay.
severing
Okay.
bloodlines. I think
I
there's
don't know
there's
that I
some,
agree, but okay.
yeah, there's some in between. I could see that, but you have this moment of I think studio execs today would look at the script and say, wait a minute, you want all of his victims follow him around joking about how he should off himself? You can't do that on TV now.
Oh god, no. Oh,
And
no.
that's a heavy theme from this point on of, you know, you have to kill yourself because look at me, I'm rotting. I'm
Right.
a little more rotten.
Yep.
And we go through this moment to where he finally, all right, I'm gonna get out. Alex goes to work. I got the day to myself. Um, say goodbye to her. I'm gonna go for a little walk, lock myself out, find a way back in.
Which actually was kind of funny,
It was a goofy little thing that we go through, and then we come to the part where the only problem I have with this transformation is just where he starts off with Jesus Christ
Yeah.
and starts ripping off all of his clothes. It's a little odd, but
It is, but I'm gonna tell you what, the reason I actually, for the first time of the many times I've seen this,
mm,
at that point was like, "Okay, that's awesome," and the reason being is because when he starts stripping his clothes off and they showed him from the back, you could see the sweat standing up on him, so I was like
true,
the first time I didn't get it, the first several times I was just like you, but then this time I was like,
right?
"Oh, okay, he's on fucking
He's
fire,"
on fire. Yes,
right?
you get that
Right,
that feel. His skin is boiling,
right.
and some. This is where, and it goes for all movies. The practical effects, um, with are still beating CGI
Oh,
hands down.
absolutely.
You could deep fake the shit out of Gary Busey talking about buttered sausage all you want. It's funny, but it's not going to beat a practical effect.
So that being said, let's look at okay, so let's take one of our matter of fact, our top movie and one of our favorite movies,
Mhm.
The Thing. Had they tried to do a computer generated versus the practical effects in that, the practical effects in that movie is what makes it number 1 on our shit list,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
true.
Well, that and the fact that, it's Kurt Russell and,
Kurt Russell and John Carpenter, and it's
yeah,
semantics.
whatever. But that's part of it, right? Um, and I agree with Trina wholeheartedly on this. Oh, by the way,
Absolutely.
if you happen at some point in time that we get around to putting this into an actual podcast, if you happen to be listening through Spotify or wherever you are at today, we are a visual medium. We love to interact with our chat room, so please check us out online. Easiest way to find us is to go Grave Reviews, one word, space, studios, and you'll see Jack Skeleton chewing on his fingers. That's where you want to jump right on in there, okay?
Absolutely.
So that being said, um,
Hello
yeah,
to Ubaldo and hello to Hunter joining us in the chat.
yes, Hunter and you both, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, so here we are now in the big transformation scene is coming, and here's what I love. I love the fact, Scott, you're still in the room. Please tell the everyone else in the chat room what song was playing in the background. I love the choice of music here because it is completely different. It offsets what's actually happening on
Yes.
screen
Yeah.
by a long shot.
Yep.
Um, and you see the hand come up, and then it starts to do that
Start
stretch thing.
stretch. The
And
hair, which I love him putting hair through a rubber prosthetic and then pulling it out and
uh-huh,
shooting it in reverse. Beautiful, because it
beautiful.
looks like hair is sprouting from everywhere.
Yes.
The feet and the
The
legs turning into the ankles and the
okay, so
oh
you just said you just okay, so the hands to me was not that great of an effect. That's just me. Okay.
yeah.
Now the face sprout, we're not even going to talk about that. We will, but I mean, but when they're showing the actual body transformation with the hair, like you're talking about, when they showed the feet, which was turning into a dog style, canine style
Right, where the
leg,
ankle is up and
and the spine popping.
oh, right down
Those
the hole.
those two things, I just sat there going,
Right.
wow,
Even
right?
to the weird where he's mid transformation and he's got the dog like body, but has more of a human type head and he's kind of like not sure how to move around.
Yep.
That whole point, they did spend a long time showing this transformation
Yes, they
and
did.
it was really good. Like I said, it holds the candle to anything today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Werewolf. Listen, I love me some Underworld and Kate Beckinsale. Oh, great movies, great movies. The transformation's not that practical effect. The only things that come close are, well, I don't know, The Howling. You've got Rick Baker's protege that was
Well,
Rick.
I was about to say that's because, the same guy who did The Howling also wound up doing, so
Yeah,
many
pissed
other
Landis
things.
off because he's like, wait a minute. We talked about doing werewolves and you're doing werewolves for somebody else and you're
Yep.
using the ideas you pitched to me.
Uh-huh.
Good stuff behind the scenes. But
Perfect, Trina, thank you.
yeah, and what a great time to do it because Rick Baker ends up winning um, an Academy Award for where they bring in, special effects, practical makeup. The
Yep.
Elephant Man having just been done the year before, and feeling like, this needs to be a category.
And wasn't one of these 2 the ones who worked on The Thing?
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, so,
Um,
that was one of the things. Now, I know we're talking about American, but in The Howling, when they showed that first transformation, when he's sitting here and he's, like this, and you see the nails come out and the fingers starting to grow, and his face that's doing this,
yeah,
they literally used condoms underneath the latex and was feeding air into him
yep.
to make that
Make it bubble.
I
The
ugh,
the ingenuity
how
of
do you
these
think of
guys.
this stuff?
The ingenuity of these guys back in the 80s, because this is where practical effects, the budgets weren't there for horror movies. And they were
Oh
starting
god.
to come around in the early 80s. So you had to think on your feet. You had to do something different. You had to
Mhm.
you had to figure like, okay, well, get me an avocado, a snorkel, and some hot links, and we'll make this happen.
And a canister of CO2.
Right, right.
Right.
And one big rubber band, and you're like, what? And he MacGyvers something out, and you're like, holy crap, how did you do that and make a werewolf transformation?
And it's funny because we keep referring. I will always refer the special effects in this movie to John Carpenter's The Thing because of, how well they were done. This one, The Howling, and The Thing are like my three favorite special effects movies. Um, but it's like you were saying. They MacGyver all this stuff and they set it up, and a lot of times it's like, hey, we have to get this in the first shot because there's no physical way to redo this. There's one
Right,
in the world.
right. Don't
It took
mess
it
it
took
up.
yeah, it took me 3 months to make it. If something
Right.
doesn't go right, it's gonna take 3 months to make another one, and
Hmm.
you don't have the money for that. So, and that so when if you guys in the chat room ever get a chance to do, like, a behind the scenes on this movie,
I'll
uh,
do
or,
so.
on The Howling or The Thing, and to talk about the special effects, you need to see because it's
You'll have
amazing.
so much more respect for these guys that
Yep.
did these things with, seriously, it was think outside of the box that I could make intestines with, and some a beating heart, and they'll come up with the most oddball things, and you put it on film and you're like, wow, I believe
Y not only that, but also the guys who do the special, the sound effects,
it.
and the stuff that they use to make
Right.
sound effect that makes you believe that you're hearing,
Yeah.
bones break or whatever, and it's
Or
actually
just the howl. The
howling.
howl was wolves, elephants. They mismatched a bunch of animals together, played the wolf howl backwards,
Uh-huh.
along with, and it's that outside the thinking to where, oh wow, they made this thing sound really terrible.
How they made Godzilla's roar for the original. I mean, and you're looking at that going, who thinks of this
Right.
thing?" It's amazing. I have so much respect for these people. I mean, it's just like, how do they do that? So anyway, so we've got, and then all of a sudden they show the close up of the face, and that is where, you get your money shot, so to speak. When that thing pops, it's
Yeah.
just like you're sitting there watching it going, and I love it because, I showed this before, but I'm gonna show it again. Tina's right. It was kinda gross looking,
Yep.
but it was the first time I ever saw anything on screen other than when I saw Lon Chaney Jr. do it the original time when I was a little itty bitty kid and I'm watching the hair, come out and that kind of thing.
Right.
Um, that I was sitting there going, they may have just nailed what this would be like.
Right.
As far as my teenage
Oh yeah,
imagination.
my young mind was like, that's what I imagined would happen, and your
Yeah.
face is going to contort, and like you said, he wanted the transformation to be painful, and it came off as he was on fire
Yep.
until the last second. And maybe that's why he goes around killing people, because he was that much in that much pain that now he's pissed,
And
and he's a
and
dog.
and and here's another thing that and this is where I like the kills. I like the fact that they didn't show a lot of the kills that came afterwards. But you know what I didn't like about it? They didn't explain one way or another at all how he got out of that apartment
It's true.
because there was nothing broken.
The
The
window
glass
was
was
closed.
still
He
intact.
closed it after he came in.
The door wasn't ripped off. Nothing. She just came home from work like, oh, well,
Good
where's
point.
where's
Good
where's
point. Continuity. A little
where's David?
continuity.
Where's David?
And let's be honest though. I mean, he goes on a killing spree. Um, Great killing spree. I love the fact that we don't see so much of the actual attack. We see the aftermath of. We see the point of impact, and
Mhm.
then we see a hand laying on the ground.
My
Oh,
favorite scene in this movie, other than the transformation, was the subway scene.
oh, where dude's running away from.
The dude's running away from him. You
Creepy.
you don't see him at all until the one little quick glimpse near the end,
Mhm.
but through the whole thing, they're doing the point of view shot of the werewolf versus his shot trying to see the werewolf. Um,
Werewolf thumb.
Tina, he must have opened the door before while he still had thumbs.
We
That's
didn't
what it
see the
was.
hand finish doing its transformation, still have that opposable thumb.
That's awesome. And this is why I love our chat room. This is why I love the Talking Dead. You guys are awesome.
Giant
Um,
doggy door, you know.
dog maybe that's what that
I
would have
don't
been
know.
oh my god, that would have been so great.
Werewolf used the doggy door?
Use the doggy door. Oh, anyway, that scene, where he's running and he's uh, physically and visibly scared to death. And the only thing you see, of the werewolf was that one quick section where
He
he
crawls out
he
to
crawls
where
out.
he's walking to the bottom of the escalator, and it
Uh-huh.
switches to the POV of going up the escalator over top of our victim before it's
Yep.
over.
Yep. And man, what a great scene that was. What a
I do
fantastic.
like the beginning that led up to this, where this guy is like what the freaking hall monitor, where he's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, who's that? Better cut it out. I'm gonna report you." Like, I'm going, what the dude? You need to run, bro.
Yeah, no doubt. And Tina's right. This is part of what made it interesting because subways at night are creepy. I mean, I could see that whole thing. I mean, um, not that I'm, living, where I do here in the greater Cincinnati area. It's not like I have a lot of subways to choose from, unless, of course, we're talking about the sandwiches. And let's face it, they're kind of creepy at night, also. Uh,
You're not
just,
wrong.
just saying, Um, but that I thought it was a perfect shot, and I agree with Scott here from Used and Abused. That scene was almost perfectly shot.
It
And
was
it was
very
fantastic.
scary. Definitely built the fear up. The
Hmm.
minimal use, and even like Landis said, looking back, that he feels that he should have shown less of the monster
Yep.
through this. I don't disagree with him, but that is the one of the creepiest, scariest spots of this whole movie.
Yep.
Is
It,
this
it
thing chasing him. The little that you don't see,
it's
and the
very
fear
Hitchcock.
on that guy's face.
Yeah, it's very Hitchcock. It's the what you don't see is much scarier than what I'm going to show you.
True.
And I think that again, as I said earlier, so that Trina doesn't unsub, I do love this movie. I just don't think it's as great as a whole that everyone says it is. There are scenes in it that are nearly perfect. Had they been able to hold that high standard through the whole film, then it would be a 10 out of 10, but it's not quite there.
Yeah. Now
So,
I don't agree with critics that said, it's too much comedy, not enough horror, or too much horror, not enough comedy.
no, no.
I think the only thing this suffered from was because he tried to play so much of both. The storyline did suffer a bit. I would have liked to get a little bit more lore going on in this town that these townspeople know. I
Mhm.
think that was a miss. However, we go into the next scene where he's waking up in a zoo. Um,
I loved this scene.
this was good. Like, oh, hey, wolf. I could wake up with the wolves.
I would have loved it to have been a little less comedic in
Right.
this scene only,
Yeah.
because to me, it would have been cool had they what's the way I wanna how do I wanna put this? Had they found a way to have the wild wolves of the zoo show reverence to him as a wolf.
Right.
Versus them just standing there and and being like,
Yeah. Like,
okay, well,
yeah,
he's
there's a human
here.
in here, a naked
Um,
guy.
yeah, it would have been neat to have them, like the wolf that was right next to him when he stood up, had that wolf rolled over and shown its belly, right? Which we
Right.
all know is a
That's yeah.
that
Submission.
that's a submission thing. I would have been like, holy then no, but now as a 55-year-old, knowing what I know, I'd have been like, fuck,
Yeah.
that was intuitive, right?
Right.
That was something that would have
No,
that it was a
instead we
thing,
got a naked guy running around through the zoo.
which was
Convinces a
fine.
little boy to come over to a bush for $2 so he can steal his balloons.
Yeah.
That was a
Another
little
scene
weird.
another scene that you couldn't do today.
No, no, wait a minute. You want a naked guy in the bushes to offer money for a kid to come over.
And
Yeah,
get his
yeah, but
balloons.
so how we could take his balloons. Find another way to get something to hide his pee, okay?
Yeah,
Because
no
no,
doubt. No.
no, no. And I do like the humor here where he's running with the balloons and snags the coat off of the bench, and and then he's standing in line with everybody, and you've got everybody
Exactly.
staring at him, and it's like, oh, a lot of weathers we've had lately,
Yeah, yeah, I love it. It's not like a lot of rain or whatever, whatever, but he's just like it's like, "Oh, a lot of weather."
right.
Anyway, so funny.
You are right, Scott. This is we're leading up to where he comes back, and the doctor has now realized that his nurse
Right.
brought the little puppy home, and
Oh
for
my god, what a way to put it.
you know
That's awesome. It's
brought
true.
him home for a booty call, and now he's back, and the doctor's like, cops are after him. Like, American shows up, bunch of people dead. We need to talk to the American.
Exactly.
So the doctor's like, hey, we got to bring, he's there. Oh, why didn't you call me? Oh, well, he's not fine. Well, is he? No, he's not crazy. He's just trying to chew on my leg and have sex again. But
Yeah, we're
he's
good.
fine otherwise.
Yeah.
And convinces her to, you got to bring David in. I want him under my care. We got to figure this out. I just heard about monsters. Supposedly a monster tore up London last night.
Yep. And and and
Bring him in.
and and I don't think the doctor at this point in time really thinks he's a werewolf. I think the doctor thinks he's got a mental issue that makes him believe he's a werewolf. I think
Right.
that's where the doctor's at this point, and I love that part of it. I wish they would have leaned more into that.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, the doctor goes out to the town to be like, listen, no, I'm there. It's a cold trail. Everybody's closed this case. Nobody cares. It's open and shut. Like, oh, it's a crazy guy came out and killed somebody. Where's the crazy guy? Man, don't worry about
yeah, I am of the opinion that it's more of there's a cover up going on then no one cares.
it. Right.
That was kinda my thinking on it was like,
And he kind of comes off with that saying, I went out and talked to the people there, and
"Yep,
they're a little weird. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Then one guy was like, "Yo, monster's real," and then somebody was
absolutely."
like, "Hey, shut up!" And so why don't we bring David in and let's keep an eye on him, because if anything, he has survived a very traumatic attempt on his life.
Exactly.
Um, he is showing signs of, he's seeing his dead friend. He's having these nightmares. So it's something that's affecting him psychologically. So
Yes.
maybe he's going to have a psychotic event. Better off to keep him here under my care. And you know, Alex is going to take him in and bring him into the doctor until David realizes, like, something's going on. I'm a werewolf. Nobody believes me. Going crazy. Has his way inside, um, with an English Bobby. You know, the Queen of England is a man. you
I
know,
love that he's like he keeps going like,
Winston Churchill's a piece of shit.
"I'm going to arrest you. That's what I want."
That's what I want. I'm gonna kill people.
Yeah, "I'm going to kill people."
oh,
Um,
and it's we're looking at Alex,
oh,
and this is where I like is because he,
hold on. Scott just brought something up that we did forget to mention, and thank you, Scott, for bringing that up. Um,
good point. He was in
yeah,
this movie twice.
yes. So, um
Yep, he's the one that's called your family, called your friends, everything's fine. Why are you so creeped out? Your friend just died. Calm down.
yeah, calm down. I and I hated that character in this movie. I hated him the first time, I still hated him.
Right.
Um, so we're at a situation now where okay, so we're kind of winding down the movie, if you will. They're on the, we're on the roller coaster, we're on the hillside at this point.
Yep.
And I loved that they decided to end this movie in a porno theater.
It's Piccadilly Circus was always meant to be used
Yes.
as a, and this is the first film that was able to film there in
Yes.
like a decade.
Yes.
Um, and since that time, the art and the um, Broadway type stuff was a little less, and the porn was a lot more in Piccadilly
Okay,
Circus
so
now.
let me tell you a fun story about Piccadilly Circus. There's a huge in the road there, there's like a big one of those big turnarounds, right?
Yes.
Okay, and Piccadilly Circus during rush hour for them, during, the couple times a day, it's packed.
Right.
Packed, 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 packed. So, Alice Cooper was scheduled to play London, and they did not the officials in London did not cancel the show, but they would not allow any advertisement for it because they felt that he was going to be causing their youth to become
Early 80s,
degenerates, right?
which
No,
is,
late 70s. This is still
oh, late
around.
70s. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is still around the Billion Dollar Babies era, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, then,
Right. So
yeah,
they're touring the world for Billion Dollar Babies, which is like one of the up to that point was the biggest tour of any band anywhere at any time. So what did Alice do? He had a truck with a billboard on the back of the truck with him naked, and the only thing that he had was a big boa constrictor, right? And
right.
he's setting up like this, and they broke it down in the middle of Piccadilly Square.
That's great.
Just for the advertisement, and guess what? They sold out every show.
Of
So
course.
that being said, Piccadilly Square, yeah, it was like a big deal. So for them to be able to film there was a big deal.
Huge.
Yeah.
Very big. And so, David wanders off into a theater,
Yeah.
which we are watching a straight porn show. I love the scene that we come in on where, it's a guy and a girl doing it, and another guy comes in, oh, I can't believe you're banging, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, who are you? And he's like, who are you? And I think you got the wrong house. Yeah, I think you did. Like, what the hell kind of porn with plot is this, dude?
I fully expected him to get her to, or one of them to go, "Well, why don't you stick around?" That kind of thing, but he's like, "Nope," and he just walked out. I was
Just
like, "Oh,
walks out. It was like, this
that's
is the
so
oddest porn
freaking
with plot
hilarious.
movie ever.
So
And
funny."
he's sitting there with his buddy Jack, who's now mostly a skeleton. He's been deteriorating every time we see him.
Yep. Yep.
Which leads to that. Like now, you could tell that David knows not only is his friend in limbo, but his friend is suffering in
Right.
limbo.
Right.
He's rotting away to nothing, and now he's joined by the man that he ate in the tube,
Yep.
on the escalator, who is not happy at all. He's like, he's your friend. I don't like you one bit. Go kill yourself.
Right, and then
Um,
the 2,
the
then
nice couple,
the nice couple, which I thought were freaking
the
hilarious,
fact that they're still bubbly in limbo,
right? They're like,
having been torn to shreds is great.
"Well, he is right," and, just
Yeah,
so
like, well, how about a gun? Like, so we start talking here. Like I said, can't be done now. We talk about all the ways he can off himself: car crash, electrocution, knife, put the gun up to your head. Better yet, put it in your mouth. All of these crazy ideas that you need to end this now.
I think one of them said something, and I can't remember exactly what they suggested, but it was like hanging or something like that, and the other one was like, "That's too good for him."
Oh yeah. Well, Jack was saying, he's like, well, when he's like, hang, yeah, but you could hurt yourself and you choke, and then the
Yeah,
other guy's like, that's too good for him.
yeah, so funny, so
They just want him. I love the underground guy just because he's just like, I don't care, make it happen now.
yeah, he's
Like
like,
you turn my wife into a widow, my kids don't have a dad, and like I said, we build on this such a bleak existence where we're feeling his survivor's guilt. We're
"Yep,
meant to feel that. He's feeling it. He's tried to find a way to get out of this.
yep."
And of course he goes through the transformation again. This part is crazy,
Okay, I'm gonna
crazy.
interrupt for just 1 second, because I want you to go through this, but, I'm gonna step back in time. One of the scenes that did work for me, in this in between here is when he called home, and
Oh, it talks to
you
his
know,
little sister.
he talks to his
Yes.
little sister, and he's like, "Just don't forget to tell mom and dad I love them, because
Right.
he's thinking at
Promise.
that point in time that he knows that the end is coming, whether he
Yeah.
kills himself or something else happens, he knows it's coming. So that scene was great, and it led into this scene perfectly because it's like, this is where, it went, boop, A, B, C is right here. Please
Right.
continue on.
He's now the monster again. And He goes, he
When
tears
he's
apart.
changing when he's changing there and he's shaking the scene, again, he's in the porno theater,
Yeah,
so the people are all looking at
nobody's
him
like,
like, "Man,
you got
you need
that one guy that's just like, "Uh,
you need to calm down, dude."
yeah, whatever. And he starts killing people. The English policeman runs in, sees the gore, sees the mess, sees the monster, and is like, "Oh no!"
Oh,
Turns
no.
around, runs out, shuts the curtain, and I love how he's like, "There's a monster. We gotta get this. We gotta." And the crowd is just screaming, but congregating behind this wooden
Which is
side.
exactly what people do. Why
Now
are
it's even worse because everybody's like, "Oh, I got this phone. Yeah, I gotta record."
so
No,
so
dude.
so I've said this a hundred times in my lifetime. Um, um, Men in Black, right? The scene with Will Smith where he and Tommy Lee Jones are talking, right? And Will Smith says, "Oh, people are intelligent," and right. Tommy Lee Jones says, "No, people are panicky, dangerous animals. The
Yeah,
person is intelligent. People are panicky, dangerous."
people are panicky.
And this movie shows that perfectly because that's exactly what people are. I don't like I love the person, right? I love to
Right.
sit down and have a conversation with you and have a good time. But when you put a bunch of people together, I'm like, screw them. They're
Yeah, they're
freaking
dumb.
dangerous.
People are dumb in numbers.
They
It's
are.
proven. And now you could argue it's even worse with the invention of the cell phone, the handheld camera calculator that everybody
Yes.
has in their pocket. That if something happens, we've got to record. Where most of the time, if only a third of you used that 911 feature on that same camera,
Yeah. Yeah.
things wouldn't be so bad.
Because like your teacher told you in high school, you're not going to walk around with the calculator in your pocket.
You're right. I'm going to walk around with more power it took than to put a man on the moon.
Exactly. I don't have a computer that's gonna process faster than what it took to put a man on the moon, just so you know.
Yeah, just so you know.
Just so you know. Anyway,
And he start. This leads into him busting out into Piccadilly Circus. We get a nice headshot of biting and a head flying off, and then we see the body count go up, not due to werewolf bites, but because English drivers drive like a bunch of idiots. And
yes.
we have guys falling out, getting run over. There's a crash at one point. You see a dummy go through the windshield,
You see a police officer get pinned between 2
squished him.
cars,
I would argue the body count is higher from a car accident in this movie than it is from the werewolf.
and to be honest with you, I believe you're right. I believe there were more people killed in that car accident than there was by the werewolf
I
through
know
the
when I
whole.
watched it again today, I'm like, shit.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just doesn't stop. It is. It's a train wreck. Like you squish and you got a guy get run over, and then you got a crash, and you get a crash, and then you got oh my god, somebody flew through the windshield, and oh that
And,
pretty intense.
so our werewolf winds up down an alley.
They've got him cornered. The police are coming with their rifles, all loaded up.
I would love for someone in our chat room like Scott from Used and Abused or Trina Real Horror, who've said that this is their favorite werewolf movie of all time. What did you think about this particular scene? When Nurse Alex goes walking down the alley by herself and she's looking at the werewolf and saying, "Oh, I love you," and blah 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 blah.
This is where it comes back around to where the filler that we
Mhm.
get
Yes.
pays off for me in this part, um, because of the bleakness
I'm going
that
to I'm gonna
true
tell you
love
something.
cannot cure this.
Hello, Mr. Greedo.
So
Oh,
baby,
let me do that again. Let me do that again. Mm, how you doing there, Mr. Greedo?
oh,
Welcome to the show. I will tell you this. I love this. Here you go, right here. Um, I was so afraid the first time I saw this that they were gonna do the old, the werewolf is sitting there, and all of a sudden you see the tear run down the werewolf's
right,
face or
true
what.
love conquers all.
I thought, if they do that, I will never watch this movie again,
And
ever.
I think that was intentional, where we go from this love story that pans out in the beginning 2/3 of the movie,
Yep,
that we're building to this, that it's a possibility at the end. You see her
yep.
walking down there, David, I'm here. I want to help you, and we'll figure this out. All of these things, and I really think it pays off to where no, good does not triumph
Mhm.
and beat evil.
I
Evil just gets shot in the heart.
The only thing that would have made this any better for me is that if he would have landed on her before they killed him.
Would have been neat, but it would not have helped us go to Werewolf in Paris.
No, no, but you know what I'm saying though. Had he like lunged and you see her fall back and then the shots happen, it would have made more sense because then it would have been like, okay, was he actually going to kill her or
How
was he
was
going
it?
to run past her? What was going to happen?
Right. And like I said, this is why when in Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back is my favorite. Because there is no happy ending at the end of Empire Strikes Back. The Empire is winning at the end of Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think this is kind of boils into that same category of we have some dark themes through this whole movie, and there's glimpse of hope here or there. Maybe I'm not a werewolf. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do that. Maybe true love conquers all. No, it doesn't.
No.
They shoot you dead, and we go to the credits, and we
And
get the Marvels in their blue moon.
it was boom, too. I love the fact that
Over.
they shot him, he went down, they
He's a man.
they show him laying there as a man, and then the credits play. That's the one thing because it was, even originally seeing it back in the day, that it was such an abrupt ending that I was like, "Holy crap, what just
It's that
happened?"
yanking that carpet out from under you one
Yep,
last time to be
yep,
like, no, there is no underlying happiness here. There
yep.
isn't. Everybody loses.
Everybody loses, and
And I
and
think it follows that category. That's why I still rank it right up there because of that story. And I
I
think the
agree.
filler kind of pulls it in there for
I
me,
agree.
anyway. For
I
me.
agree. I agree. Um, so Scott, Greedo, again, welcome, Greedo. We appreciate you being here. Scott, Ubalto, LG. Um, uh, we are Trina, again, new viewer. So I appreciate you guys being here. Um, Greedo, we have not, no, sir. Um, I want to say thank you all for coming in tonight because you know we love this movie. I know I went on a little tirade earlier about it, and I didn't want to paint the wrong picture. I do indeed love this movie. I just don't think it's as great as a complete film, beginning to end, as everyone likes to everyone likes to remember it. I think they remember it being better than it is. It has parts that are brilliant. It has other parts that are like, what are you doing and why? You're spending way too much time here when you could be there and capitalizing like Chris said
Yep.
on the lore or why people need to um you know why this village is acting the way they are and
Bunch of
this type
dicks.
they are. So here's my question for you, Chris.
Yeah.
If you were going to if you were going to rate this movie on a scale from 1 to 10, our scale, just so everyone is, Trina's
Our
new, so
shitlers.
you may not know, our rating and our shit list are 2 different things. We'll talk about that in just a second. But our rating is, a 10 is like it transcends the genre. It is much better than the movie itself. A 1 is a miserable dredge that is like an hour and a half of your life that you'll never get back. And 5 basically hits all the marks. So we're right in between all those. And the only 10 that we have rated so far ever is The Thing by John Carpenter, which is why it is also on the top of our shit list. So
Correct.
on a scale from 1 to 10, Chris, where would you put An American Werewolf in London?
For the reasons that I've said, nostalgia plays a big part on this. This movie was one of those movies I watched before it happened, but then my dad was like, "You got to watch this movie." The use of some actual bands and a little bit of composing, I think was the right choice.
I agree. I agree
There
wholeheartedly.
were spots they were talking about. Wow, they could have wrote a little part for in the background of the underground. No, No, leave the guy running, his panting, his frantic steps, the growls in the background. I think they would have been overshadowed by any music playing in the
I
background.
agree.
So I think we leave that out of there. So for me, I'm gonna rank this one as a 9.
A 9.
This
Wow.
is one of my favorite movies. It is my favorite werewolf movie. And for me, it hits all the marks for me. I enjoyed the bleak outlook on life, that
Mhm.
darkness, the dark humor, which if you didn't get the jokes, it's because they're meant to be thrown at you in a way to that are unsettling because everything here is unsettling. So so's our humor. So yeah, I rank this as a solid 9.
I unfortunately had you asked me this question 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I probably would have agreed with you.
Right.
I can't do that anymore. Um, it's not a 5, right? Right? It didn't check all the marks. It well more than checked all the marks. Um, I think okay, because our shit list and our ratings are 2 completely different things.
Yeah.
Right? Our ratings are based on historical relevance and so forth. So I can't go 9, but I will go like 8 to 8.5, right in that range,
That's fair.
simply because of the special effects and how wonderful they are and how they changed a genre. Um, not only how they changed the genre, but how they changed movie special effects as a whole.
Right.
Um, people who weren't making horror films were still looking at this and going, "Holy crap! How are we going to be able to compete with?" Showing this special effect. So in that aspect, you have to give this movie props. Is it as great as everyone remembers it? No, it's not. It's not by a long shot, but it's still a very solid film. If it weren't for the explicit special effects, I'd say, yeah, it's a 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But because of that, I have to give it more. It's 8.5.
Yeah, the keep it from a 10 for me is I like David Naughton. Um, I think it wasn't so much of his performance as much as the writing for his dialogue and
Yep.
such. It was a little off.
Mhm.
I don't think he did well with the humor. He came off more goofy than funny.
I
Um,
think that had they played a more into the lore and more into
yes,
had they spent his time, getting well more
the 3 weeks he
in
was
the
down for
village.
3 weeks.
Right? And had the nurse, been like, "Hey," and then they could have even done something like, "I'm on holiday and I'm going to visit family in London," and taken it to London at that point in time and done the movie exactly the same way. I think it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the reason why I couldn't go quite 9 or 10. So I'm gonna say 8. I'm gonna say a solid 8.
I tell you what, I don't think we're gonna find. I'd be hard pressed to find another movie we would rank as a 10. I
No.
really, I don't.
Well, there might
There
be.
might be. I would never say never, but
Yeah.
ten's a hard one. So to go 9, to me, that jump between 9 and 10 is probably as big as it is from 1 to 8.
Yeah.
Um, for me anyway.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
So yeah.
Um, so
Oh yeah.
that being said, now we take our your 9 and my 8 and we throw those out the window. As far as the shit list is concerned, which is our for those of you who aren't 100% familiar, shit list, what that basically stands for is that is our sometimes hilarious and intentionally tasteless list of movie reviews. Um, we
Mainly
are
we're gonna put it on there, just to annoy a lot of you,
yeah.
because
Yes.
yeah, you'll see as we start ranking all of these things that why did you? Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. And if you don't like it,
Right. This is strictly our opinion. Um,
yes.
this is our opinion on where it is for us. I will say, um, top 5, no.
No. Okay, so
And
it's not better than Carrie.
this is one of my favorite movies, and I will say Carrie was a better story driven movie, and it was
Thank
fleshed
you.
out fleshed
Thank
out
you.
better.
I
Absolutely.
really and honestly thought that this is where you were gonna try to go, was somewhere around 4 or 5 on this.
No,
So
I will say it's out of the five. Like I said, one of my favorite movies. The first couple happen to be John Carpenter movies, but I digress.
I
One of
digress.
my favorite movies, but I do think Carrie was done um, was a better movie than it. However,
Yes.
I would slot it right behind Carrie.
I am going to be perfectly fine with number 6. The reason I say that is because I love Cabin in the Woods. I think that Cabin in the Woods is one of those movies that's actually better than people think it is, because of everything that we talked about, which during our view, which was the fact that it knows what it is and capitalizes on what it knows.
Right.
Okay. Um, my thing is, and this is where the shit list drives me fucking nuts, is that I love this movie, but you know what? If we were going to sit here and get tomorrow, and you and I were sitting there and having a drink together, and we said, you know what? Let's watch a werewolf movie. I put Dog Soldiers on first.
That's funny, and I wouldn't complain about it.
Isn't that weird?
It's
But yeah,
strange.
but yet we're gonna rate this movie as being, more enjoyable.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think as far as werewolf movies go, if I were to turn around and say, "Oh, you've never seen a werewolf movie. Where should you start?" The ones that I would tell you would be The Howling, would be an American Werewolf in London, the Underworld series, as well as our Universal Pictures Wolfman. So that being said, that's why I put it at number 6. Is that it would be one of the first ones I told you to go watch.
And here's the funny thing about this list is that I would be okay if we put this anywhere between, um, basically 5 and say 12, right?
There's a lot of movies, and yeah, absolutely. I think if you could take They Live on, say, a Saturday in August, and I
Yes.
might rank it higher than a lot of where it's at right now, just
And
because of
that's me too. That
that's the
and
day.
that's the funny thing. So, for those of you who are in the chat who do not know, we've decided that once we put it on the list, that's where it has to stay until something knocks it out. So
Right.
so at no point in time will you ever see Chris or I go in and go, "You know what?
We're gonna drop this to number 12 now.
Yeah, we can't do that because once it hits here, and it's done. And I have the right, I have proclaimed the right to move it where I want to. But I've also told Chris, I said, I'm not going to do that to you. We'll stay where we're at. And Chris does get the power one time a
One
year to
time.
over to over to
So you know
over.
what, Alan?
You're wrong.
Taking my chip. Taking my chip. I'm
I
using
put
it.
my chip in. I'm using it today.
And then one of these days we'll just, because of Gaps watching, we'll be like, we're gonna rank it at number 15. And just so Gap's head kind of explodes, because
Yeah, just because
he
it's
likes looking at our list saying, "Why did you?" Yeah, because.
uh-huh, because
Because why? Exactly.
exactly, exactly. So next week we have a fun one for you. I really hope to see this everyone who's in our chat room today come back next week if you like werewolf movies. For whatever reason, we've decided to group a bunch of them together. I don't know what happened or how it happened, but once we looked at the calendar, we were like, "Huh, we got werewolves going on."
Let's do it.
We're going to be looking at Ginger Snaps next week, which is a fantastic werewolf movie from the 90s 2000 era.
I believe it was
Um,
2000.
yep. And if you haven't seen it, it is really good. It, it started another franchise. There are multiples of those movies. So yeah, Ginger Snaps is a great one. Again, I'm away from the bipedal werewolf. How did this happen?
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
I like them when they stand up on 2 feet. So the first ones, we're not going to do that.
yeah. So the first two are like, no, no,
Son of
nah.
a
Um, son of a bitch.
bitch.
And then later this month, we're uh,
Fire crotch.
I loved my chat room.
There might be a redhead in here.
And it's funny is I literally, um, have said, like, "This is the best, um, chat room that I've ever had," because you guys, come in and you make us laugh every single week. Um,
This
and
is true.
and and that is why I say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I'm looking here right now. Here are some things that you can do. Um, Ginger Snaps is free on Tubi, so you can watch Ginger Snaps on Tubi. If you happen to be in an area that Tubi's not available, it's also available on Peacock Premium. It's available
Pluto,
on Pluto or
Roku.
Roku. It's available on Freevee. So all of these are all free watches. So if you get a chance, Ginger Snaps is free on Tubi. That's the best place to watch it. It is we watch a lot of our stuff on Tubi, and it's a really nice site. Yes, there's a couple of commercials, but it's not bad. They
Hey.
literally and they even tell you, "Hey, your commercial's coming up in 10 seconds."
Yeah,
So,
right. And it doesn't throw it in like a mid sentence. It does kind of find some spots to
mhm,
where like it's okay if a commercial comes in here and we come
yep,
back, you're not missing anything. So
yep,
yeah, I'm very happy with Tubi and Pluto TV. There's some great, I mean, Tubi especially. If you want horror, you could spend weeks binge watching horror on Tubi.
you could
It has a
very easily,
huge
mm,
selection. So
very easily.
so
Um,
big, Greedo. So
and
big.
and so we watch a lot of stuff on Tubi. I'm still a Prime guy. You can get pretty much anything you want to on Prime. So,
Right.
but that's so next week we're going to be talking about Ginger Snaps Burrito. But it is free on Tubi. Um, and if you haven't seen it, you really should. It's a fun film.
Very fun.
2 young, girls and what happens with their lycanthropy. Um, and so, all right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to say before we start to sign off, sir?
Um, no, I think we kind of hit it. I'm surprised we agreed on the shit list talking this week.
Nope.
I was like, he's gonna fight me on this one.
I
He's
knew
gonna
I
put it at
wouldn't.
like 10. But no, no, I'm definitely happy with this movie. Go watch it.
Okay.
And everybody go see Ginger Snaps. Early 2000s goth chicks. Um, you know, find out one of them is bitten by a werewolf. What are they gonna do? Fun
It's
movie.
it's it's a fun film, and it started a franchise for a good reason. So you'll really enjoy it. The acting's good. The young girls that star in it are both fantastic. I think you'll really enjoy this film. That being said, guys and gals, I really, 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 really appreciate it. Um, we have by this time tomorrow, in most cases, we have anywhere from 30 to by the end of the week, 100 views. Please hit the like button, leave us a comment. It really does help get us out to other people. Again, tonight we had a new viewer with us. Her name was Trina.
Thanks
Trina,
for joining us.
thank you so much for joining us. You are a member of the Talking Dead just by being here. As they said in the movie Freaks, gobble gobble, we accept you. You are one of us. Um, so that being said, Chris, would you like to sign off tonight?
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. And I didn't mean to call you a meatloaf, Jack.
Which really bothered me because meatloaf was like the sacred night around
Right?
our house,
That's
you know?
I love meatloaf.
My wife makes such a good meatloaf. Oh my god.
I'm there with my wife hates making meatloaf, but I love her meatloaf.
Yep, yep. And it's funny because your meatloaf is really good or it's really not. That's just
Right.
all there is to it. And man, my wife makes a good meatloaf. Oh,
Nice.
you get those sandwiches the next day.
Oh, see?
Oh,
See, Jack? well, maybe it wasn't so bad being called a meatloaf.
No, it was kind of a
People
compliment.
love you.
I will say this though, when he was in the transformation scene and you see, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I called
I'm
you."
sorry I called
I
you meatloaf, Jack.
perfect, perfect comedic relief in the middle of a stressful situation. So very good.
Definitely.
Um, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you next Thursday. Chris would always like to say, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I threw him in front of the bus.
You did. You put me in the bus. I'm like a deer in headlights. We say things and stuff.
And uh,
Be careful of what goes bump in the night.
it could very easily be one of us.
You smell different when you're awake.
This is ladies and gentlemen, this is why I love Chris.
I mean, appropriate.
May your nightmares be groovy.
Take care, everyone.
See you next week.